Homage to the fundamental teacher Buddha Shakyamuni, homage to the wisdom warrior Manjushri, homage to all the lineage masters. The supreme and subtle Dharma is rarely encountered in eons. Now we hear and follow it. May we realize the Tathagata's meaning. To liberate beings, please generate bodhicitta. Now we will teach the Platform Sutra of the Sixth Patriarch. We are currently teaching the second chapter, the Prajna chapter. Here there is mainly a formless verse. The Sixth Patriarch's states of realization in cultivation are proclaimed to everyone in the form of verses. Today we will give everyone a simple introduction to the literal meaning of this verse. Our study of the Platform Sutra of the Sixth Patriarch has two main purposes. One is to further understand the Dharma teachings of the Chan school. Whether you study Pure Land Buddhism or Tibetan Buddhism, you should understand the Chan school teachings, because the Chan school provides the most profound teachings on prajna. Historically, many great masters have attained realization through this with tremendous merit. There is also a second purpose. Chan Buddhism is a mind teaching, a realization and awakening of the inner mind. It is an especially supreme sutra for awakening to the nature of life. So I think for all of us here, in this brief human life, to plant a seed for the mind teachings and create an auspicious connection is also very necessary. Personally, I have great faith in the Chan school teachings, but indeed I myself have basically neither the practice nor the oral transmissions. So according to the true requirements of Tibetan Buddhism, this teaching is actually not very appropriate, because in Tibetan areas, according to principle, transmitting teachings must have a lineage transmission from teacher to student. Without a lineage transmission, many great masters would not teach it. But this time I also want to study together with everyone. We will study together. It is just that I am here providing simple guidance. This time I see many people have great faith in studying the Platform Sutra of the Sixth Patriarch. Not only in our academy but also online, quite a number of people have persevered from the beginning until now. I think everyone will also see it through to completion for the remaining content. What we are teaching today is the verse. Bodhi fundamentally is the self-nature. To activate the mind is already false. Purify the mind within the false. Just be correct in being without the three hindrances. What we discussed before is that Bodhi's original nature actually has no discriminating thoughts between subject and object. It is like pure empty space. But our sentient beings' discriminating delusions arise suddenly and temporarily, just like clouds and mist naturally arising in empty space. Actually, this deluded mind is not the true original nature. It is accidental. It can disappear. Through observing our own mind or through cultivation, we can completely awaken to this. This point, whether monastics or lay practitioners, anyone can indeed awaken to it. And when we are arising thoughts, arising afflictions, arising discriminations, the true mind, the pure mind, has never departed. That is to say, the pure mind is within delusion. Our pure mind, Bodhi's original nature, is actually always pure. For example, when we are transmigrating in the three realms of samsara, when sentient beings are struggling and suffering in afflictions and discriminations, the original nature remains unmoved. Just like water freezing into ice, the ice appears to be solid on the surface, but actually the nature of water has never changed. This point is also discussed in the Sutra of Contemplation on the Mind Ground. Such mind dharma fundamentally does not exist. Ordinary beings in their delusion claim it is not non-existent. Such mind teachings originally do not exist. But ordinary beings think they are not non-existent. They think they exist. If one can contemplate the mind's nature as empty, delusive hindrances will not arise and one will attain liberation. All obstacles and delusions will not arise, and one will definitely attain liberation. This has already been explained here. When we are in confusion and delusion, the pure mind is in samsara. When practicing the main practice in this way, there are no three obstacles. The three obstacles mentioned here are all found in ancient Han region materials. One is the afflictive obstacle, one is the karmic obstacle, and another is called the retributive obstacle. The afflictive obstacle includes attachment, anger, delusion, and so forth. As for karmic obstacles, the 5 heinous crimes, 10 unwholesome actions, and so forth. As for retributive obstacles, the karmic results have already manifested. For example, those suffering in the 3 lower realms, such karmic retribution. Actually, this is also a kind of obstacle. For example, some of us may really have no way to practice. Some have too much drowsiness, wanting to sleep day and night, not wanting to practice. Some people are constantly unwell and ill all day long. Some people are perhaps always in a state of distraction. In fact, each person's practice situation has different karmic manifestations. Some occasionally wish in their hearts to be a good person or to practice the Dharma well. But actually, in the actual course of practice, you do many unwholesome things. Your mind cannot be controlled, your body cannot gain freedom, and so forth. This is what is called the obstacle of karmic retribution manifesting. We know that actually the nature of Bodhi has never departed. This point is in perfect accord with our supreme great perfection. In the supreme tantric teachings, it is said that the original face of Samantabhadra Tathagata is unchanging and unmoving. But later, because of innate ignorance and conceptual ignorance arising, sentient beings' arising thoughts and deluded discriminations appear in various ways. From then on, sentient beings suffer torment in the three realms of samsara. There is such reasoning. This is completely the same. Next we explain, if people of this world cultivate the way, they will not be hindered by anything at all. Always see one's own errors and be in accord with the way. If worldly people practice the right path at all times, in all places, in all actions, there are no hindrances. The key is whether you yourself can apply your mind, using mind to observe your own mind. If you use mind to observe your own mind, some people say, I now practice but have no time, no place, no space, and so forth. But actually, if you are truly someone especially able to practice, practice is actually a mind teaching. This mind teaching, in walking, standing, sitting, lying down at all times, anytime, anywhere, you can practice. There are no obstacles to cultivating the mind. This is similar to what Master Yongje also said before. Whether sitting or walking, both are Chan. Sitting is also a state of Chan school, walking is also a state of Chan. If someone has some understanding of the mind teachings, your volunteering is in the state of practice. Walking is also in the state of practice. Including sleeping, daytime chatting, or at any other time, practice is actually possible. The most crucial point in this is to constantly observe one's own faults. Only in this way can you accord with the path. In this formless verse of the Platform Sutra, there are many references to faults. I have seen some great masters explain it as completely the worldly faults of now, faults in terms of character, but I think one interpretation is to constantly observe one's own faults and shortcomings. This simpler explanation is also acceptable. But actually, since this is the Sixth Patriarch's formless verse, it should mean to constantly observe one's own faults. What are one's own faults? In the three realms, what is the greatest fault? It is deluded discriminations, namely attachment, anger, and delusion. In the compendium of valid cognition, attachment, anger, and delusion are all called faults. One must constantly observe these afflictive discriminations, deluded attachments that completely contradict reality. If you constantly observe your own deluded attachments, at that time, the path of practice will completely accord with you. If you truly want to practice, at all times, anytime, anywhere, you can observe the mind. In the process of observing the mind, what is the sole focus? Not to grasp at characteristics, but to look inward and recognize the nature of one's own mind. This is the most important and best method for practitioners, because this mind is actually not to be sought elsewhere. It should be sought from within. Our greatest fault is not recognizing our own mind. What is our greatest fault? All external phenomena are illusory, false mental projections, but we do not recognize this. When we recognize such faults, only then do we truly become practitioners. The categories of form have their own ways, and they do not hinder or afflict each other. If one seeks the way apart from the way, one will never see the way throughout life. What is meant here by the categories of form actually refers to various categories, that is to say, different sentient beings. Originally in our world, there are innumerable sentient beings. Each sentient being, each individual, has their own different path of practice. The Buddha also turned 84,000 Dharma teachings. Each sentient being's inclinations and faculties are different. These different teachings, different paths and stages do not hinder sentient beings in any way. You can study Sutrayana, study Tantrayana, study Chan Buddhism. Various teachings can be studied. But to summarize, we absolutely must not depart from the path of mind teachings. If you depart from the path of mind teachings and seek somewhere else for another method that can accomplish Buddhahood or attain realization, such skillful means will never be found. It is like going south to reach north. You have completely gone in the wrong direction. So what we are teaching is like this. It is a truly inner mind cultivation teaching. Chan Buddhism is like this. In our tantric teachings, we also often say that one must recognize the nature of one's own mind. Aside from the nature of one's own mind, to seek a Buddha with excellent marks is to err again and again, a very grave mistake. So in the actual process of meditation and practice, we must know that different teachings are established for sentient beings of different faculties. But among all these different teachings, the inner mind teaching is most important. The Buddha also said in the Tathagata Sutra, with the Buddha eye observing sentient beings, though they cycle through the 5 realms, the great treasure is within the body, ever present and unchanging. Although the different beings of the 6 realms constantly transmigrate, the most important great jewel Tathagatagarbha is actually within our body. Every sentient being has never been separated from it. The nature of Tathagatagarbha was also explained by the Buddha in the Nirvana Sutra. What are called beings who have severed wholesome roots are only so temporarily. Actually, there are truly no beings who have severed their spiritual potential or wholesome roots. The Buddha also taught this in the Nirvana Sutra. Therefore, we must know that all paths, all teachings ultimately come down to mind teachings, to recognizing the nature of mind. If you do not understand this point, you will never find true practice and liberation. Therefore, throughout life one cannot arise, and for one's entire life cannot see the right path. If one passes one's life in prevarication, one will ultimately only cause oneself grief. If you want to see the true way, practice the correct, and this is the way. The deluded sentient beings in our world are like waves on water. Each wave pushes the previous wave forward. The waves in front are pushed forward by the waves behind. Sentient beings are busy and constantly rushing about. Many sentient beings throughout their entire lives keep rushing like this. Actually, in the end, when they truly must leave this world, aside from regret, aside from remorse, sorrow, suffering, and wailing, they have gained nothing. There is nothing at all. Indeed, sometimes one feels that human life is such that when you are a child, you think adulthood is so good. When you are an adult, you think being more mature is very good. When mature, people have become old. After becoming old, one is soon approaching departure from this world. When you are departing, if you truly examine your conscience and look back, basically the things you have done throughout your life have no special meaning. Many people, for the sake of their families and livelihoods, have created countless karma. Aside from this, perhaps there is nothing else. The Buddha also said in the Maharatnakuta Sutra, parents, siblings, and one's wife and children, friends, servants, and treasured wealth, when one dies, not one comes to offer kindness, only dark karma constantly follows. This scriptural citation is actually very important. Previously in the King of Teachings Sutra, there was also one. In our world, parents, siblings, spouses, children, as well as friends, servants, property, and so forth, many things, you think they are all very important. In order to obtain them, including property, servants, friends, and such, you then constantly create karma. But in the end, when you truly die, all these amount to nothing. There is no way. No one can help you. Property cannot help. Family cannot help. Friends cannot help you. The only thing that follows you is what? Negative karma. Unwholesome karma, principally the 10 unwholesome actions, follows you. The profound meaning of these scriptural citations, I think we Buddhists should contemplate very carefully and in detail. I see in our world that many people are truly like this. For the sake of family and livelihood, they have created numerous unwholesome actions. They have not had time to repent, have not had time to practice well themselves. Then in the end, all the karma can only be carried by oneself. Aside from this, no one can substitute for you. Many people's entire busy lives leave behind regret in the end. If you truly want to realize the true path, if you wish to see the true path, then you must begin with the mind cultivation teachings. If you begin with the mind cultivation teachings, then your practice will certainly be correct. This correct path is the true path. Some of us practice retreat throughout the year, practice very well throughout the year. When practicing, although from the worldly perspective of character, it may be necessary to help family, friends, and relatives somewhat, but from the transcendent perspective, we cannot always listen to them. If we always listen to them, always go along with them, then my future in all lifetimes will be ruined by certain individuals. They tightly grasp me and will not let go, creating karma together with them. If you do not create karma, they will not give you freedom. Therefore, throughout history, many great masters and accomplished practitioners ultimately had no choice but to endure short-term pain rather than long-term pain. Finally, they truly had no alternative. They had to leave their families and relatives and go elsewhere. True practitioners are all like this, but some who are not true practitioners may initially have some discriminating thoughts. In the end, neither practice nor worldly life succeeds. In such a case, I think it would be better to live one's life as one wishes. Perhaps it would be better to do so from the very beginning. It is explained here that if you wish to truly attain the true path, practicing rightly is the path. If one's self has no mind for the way, one will practice in obscurity and will not see the way. If one is a true cultivator of the way, one will not see the transgressions of the world. If you yourself lack the mind for the path, lack pith instructions, lack this mind for cultivating the path, although superficially you appear to be practicing, covertly practicing, actually this kind of practice is only dark and blind practice. Blind practice absolutely cannot realize the true path. What we call practicing blindly without study, contemplation, and pith instructions, how can one see the true mind? It is impossible. If you truly wish to become a practitioner, someone who cultivates the path, you must understand not to see the faults of the world. The faults of the world, as we explained before, if we explain simply from the literal meaning, as a good practitioner, you should not constantly discuss others' faults. In quiet sitting, constantly reflect on one's own faults. Great masters in the past also often taught thus. In quiet sitting, constantly reflect on one's own faults. In idle talk, do not discuss others' wrongs. When we sit quietly, we should constantly observe our own faults. When chatting idly, we should not speak of others' faults. As a practitioner, it is best not to discuss many faults of others. Pointing fingers, talking about faults every day, this is also not good. Previously in the Maharatnakuta Sutra, there was specifically such a story. A group of bhikshus during their practice could not generate true realization states. Some were distracted, some enjoyed worldly dharmas. Later, Maitreya Bodhisattva brought them to the Buddha, and the Buddha told them that though they were practitioners long ago, at that time during their practice they developed arrogance, and much of their practice was improper. Thus, karmic obstacles manifested. Now also obstacles appear during their practice. Later they themselves also repented, and the Buddha also bestowed blessings. There is such a story. So now I see some Dharma friends who very much wish to practice, but because later karmic obstacles manifest, all practice often does not succeed. This is also very much related to one's past life merit. Some people perhaps have relatively good merit. During practice, there are no major obstacles. One's own mind is also very capable. What is being capable? When you wish to practice, you can practice. When you wish to memorize, you can memorize. When you wish to abide, you can abide. All favorable conditions are naturally complete. But some people, for instance, when practicing, wish to arouse aspiration. When arousing aspiration, they run around wildly. After running around, they also gain no results. The people they encounter are also people with a great deal of right and wrong. The people around them all seem like bad people in your eyes. This one is also a bad person. That one is also a bad person. Front, back, left, right, up and down. All 6 directions have bad people. This side is also a bad person. That side is also a bad person. In front is also a bad person. Behind is also a bad person. Looking down, probably also a bad person looking up. Above, a bad person. The entire world has already become especially dark and very painful. But people who practice well, everywhere there are favorable conditions. Whoever they come into contact with, the people they contact also bring very good resources for practice. Some people use very pleasing, praising words to commend you. Excellent, excellent, your practice conduct. Some people use abundant wealth to help you. Some people use pith instructions for practice to comfort you. Some people use worldly medicine to treat you, and so forth. Front, back, left and right, all are favorable conditions. Indeed, practice is still related to past life merit. In addition, of course, one's own afflictions and realization states have a certain relationship. From this level of understanding, if you are a true practitioner, not seeing the faults of the world, this is the meaning. But if we go deeper, as we just explained, if you do not truly possess the mind for the path of inner observation, then your practice is completely a matter of characteristics. The Diamond Sutra also explains that if our mind dwells on phenomena without the guidance of Prajnaparamita, such a person practicing generosity is equivalent to entering darkness, seeing nothing at all, seeing absolutely nothing. The Diamond Sutra also teaches this. Therefore, anything not guided by wisdom, including generosity and discipline, is like throwing stones in darkness without real power. By the same principle, if we truly become practitioners, then we should not be guided by worldly faults, by worldly things with characteristics. If there are characteristics, everything is wrong view. As explained in Entering the Middle Way, as long as there is attachment to the three aspects of giver, recipient, and gift, this is called worldly and defiled. If these three attachments are absent, this is transcendent and undefiled. The meaning is also like this. So I believe not seeing worldly faults. Perhaps my way of explanation has never appeared before, but I hope you will still take a look. Otherwise, to always take the Sixth Patriarch's formless verse as merely about talking about each other's faults, you look so ugly, you are such a bad person, to explain it with such language. Whether this is the Sixth Patriarch's secret intention, you must ask him yourself. When you see the faults of others, to judge them is itself a wrong. Others' faults I do not criticize, my own faults are my own to bear. As we just explained, if it is the same as the ordinary worldly way, if you see others speaking of right and wrong or making mistakes, it shows that you yourself are also unreasonable, your own faults are even greater. Because all the faults we see in others, we should not consider them as faults. If I consider them as faults, then I have faults. We can say this. But according to the meaning of Chan Buddhism, if we see anything in the world that is not the true reality, did we not explain before that ordinary beings in their delusion assert what is not to be? The deluded attachments of ordinary beings are not real. What originally does not exist, they consider to exist. What exists, we consider does not exist. Therefore, if we discover that others, aside from ourselves, the entire world, all worldly people, all views are not the true reality. If we consider all the false things in the world as real, this is our own fault. Actually, all phenomena, the entire world, are originally pure. It is merely that our minds are not pure. This is our own fault. We see this world as having characteristics, but actually all phenomena, all others, are merely false appearances. Such practice, such observation we should not do. This is unreasonable. If we repeatedly think that all phenomena in the world have characteristics, have attachments, and are external, I myself have faults, which shows that one's own mind is not pure. This is caused by a deluded perception. This is one's own fault. That is to say, our mind has not yet entered the true state of practice. The Buddha also said in the Maharatnakuta Sutra, all dharmas by their self-nature are constantly tranquil. What craving, aversion, or delusion could there be? All phenomena are originally pure. How could there be desire? How could there be aversion? How could there be delusion? Including our present mental states of attachment, anger, delusion, pride, jealousy, and so forth. In the true nature of all phenomena, they fundamentally do not exist. We think we are attached to others or angry at others. Actually, others have no phenomena worthy of attachment. Others also have no phenomena worthy of anger. If they do not exist in the external objects, it is our own mistake. Therefore, others are not at fault. I myself have faults. Perhaps understanding it this way is better. Aside from oneself, whether it is called others or the external world, external discriminating delusions, all kinds of right and wrong, true and false, existence and non-existence, and so forth, all forms, all varieties of these are actually non-existent, are not real. If I consider them to be real, this is my mistake. From the perspective of Chan Buddhism, this world is non-existent. It is not real. It is illusory. If my mind considers it to be real, this is the mistake of my mind. It is not that false appearances of right and wrong truly exist in external objects. Just eliminate the mind of error and strike away and shatter afflictions. When hatred and love do not concern the mind, one can stretch both legs and lie down in peace. Only when we ourselves eliminate the wrong mind, the mind that does not recognize external reality, at that time, all afflictions and discriminating thoughts are completely shattered. If we once eliminate deluded attachments and discriminations all at once, then all the afflictions of attachment, anger, and delusion arising from deluded discriminations are also absent. If these are absent, then what arises from attachment, anger, and delusion, the hatred toward enemies, the affection toward friends and relatives, all these are completely absent. At that time, one is truly a genuine practitioner. You can sit, you can lie down, you can perform Vajra dance, you can sing Vajra songs. Whatever you do is acceptable. Many yogic practitioners are like this. In the final chapter of Longchenpa's Treasury of the Dharmadhatu, it is said that some Garudas inside the eggshell gradually develop their wings to fullness. When the eggshell is opened and broken, they can soar through the sky. By the same principle, some yogis on the surface appear to be bound in the net of discriminating attachment between subject and object. But gradually through practice, once the eggshell of their body, or the eggshell of subject-object duality, is cracked open, they immediately soar in the ranks of Vidyadhara yogis. In Longchenpa's Treasury of the Dharma Dhatu, there are many such analogies. Here it is also explained that these discriminating deluded attachments of ours, once the nature of mind is recognized, whether it is emptiness or luminosity, at that time we should live very freely and at ease. I often think this way. In the past, His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok, because His Holiness was truly a yogi who had realized the great perfection, often lay down reciting mantras like this. How would an ordinary Hinayana practitioner with very pure deportment compare? From the surface appearance, when we often paid respects to His Holiness, sometimes he was lying down, sometimes reclining. But nevertheless, this state of luminous mind is indivisible. Those of us who have just taken vows, just taken refuge, have a particular sense of constraint, being very careful. Both eyes are unmoving, always like this. On the surface it appears we are very proper, but actually we are already inwardly tight and outwardly bound by various nets of subject-object discrimination. Therefore, practitioners who have truly realized emptiness compared with ordinary people who practice ascetic conduct, ordinary other people, still have very great differences. When you have truly eliminated all wrong views, all hatred and affection are completely absent. In the past, Shantideva Bodhisattva also said, when realizing emptiness, therefore, among all empty dharmas, what gain or loss could there be? Who is the person that shows me respect, who again treats me with contempt? Whoever reveres me, whoever disparages me, all is emptiness. In emptiness, there is nothing to gain, nothing to lose. At this time, your conduct can be free. Sometimes we see Monk Jigong. We truly do not know what his original face was really like. Many actors' films and television shows are actually false images. But indeed, some expressions are especially suitable for the true original face of the great perfection and Chan Buddhism. Whether gain or loss, whether me, whether inner ruin or outer ruin, everything in a state of great freedom. Therefore, here it is not that we cannot translate it as, oh, the Sixth Patriarch Master had no hatred, had no affection, and he always stretched out his feet and reclined and lay down. Students, do you understand? Some people teaching the Platform Sutra of the Sixth Patriarch still acceptable. Students, do you understand? When the Sixth Patriarch of Chan Buddhism was alive, in the year such and such, I observed what the social background was at that time. At that time, the social background was that the Sixth Patriarch stretched out his feet and reclined. If you wish to transform others, you yourself must have skillful means. Do not cause them to have doubts. This is the manifestation of self-nature. If one has truly realized emptiness, realized the state of Chan Buddhism, one will manifest various conduct that benefits sentient beings. Actually, our study of Buddhism, Chan practice, study and contemplation, including examinations and so forth, what is the purpose of all these? One is to eliminate the afflictions in one's own mind stream. Second is to propagate the Dharma and benefit sentient beings. This is very important. We many Buddhists must first clarify the goal. Our current education, to be honest, much of China's educational reform has not succeeded. This point, many scholars, both domestic and international, including many old professors from Peking University and Tsinghua University, they also understand these circumstances very well and often speak about them in different settings. Why do we say this? Because from childhood until university and doctoral graduation, the purpose of many people's study is just to support themselves. There is fundamentally no concept of benefiting others. This is the greatest shortcoming. If in such an environment, over so many years, all the education we receive is just to support ourselves, how to compete, how to deal with others with scheming behavior to challenge, actually from the perspective of values, this is truly detrimental. Precisely because of this, now including in society, many foods and medicines lack a sense of security. No one has a sense of security. This has a certain relationship with our education. We cannot say 100%, but it has a certain relationship with education. Therefore, we Buddhists as well, if all Buddhists' voices at most are for self-liberation, many are selfish, superstitious, confused with such conduct, then the existence of our community in this world actually has value that is not very prominent. It does not manifest the true values of Mahayana Buddhism. What are the true values of Mahayana Buddhism? It is to liberate sentient beings. There are very many skillful means for liberating sentient beings. Here it is also explained that if you wish to liberate sentient beings, you must have the skillful means taught in the Mahayana. What kind of skillful means? We all know, whether in our speech or in our conduct, everything requires both worldly and transcendent wisdom. People without wisdom, much of their conduct is actually improper. Therefore, we must, for example, when teaching the Dharma, constantly study many valuable related sutras and treatises, and so forth. Skillful means are needed. These skillful means must enable the sentient beings being liberated to dispel their doubts. Not that the more you teach, the more the people below generate doubts, the more they generate wrong views. More and more in their minds various kinds of afflictions and suffering. In the end, no one awakens, and moreover the afflictions in the mind stream increase even more. Then this practice and liberation are unsuccessful. So what is it here? One must have skillful methods to extinguish others' doubts as much as possible, even if they cannot be completely extinguished, through true truth, dispel others' discriminations. After this, true Bodhi naturally manifests, naturally appears. This is what we discover through turning the Dharma wheel. Everyone knows that liberating sentient beings, Chan Buddhism is also like this. It is not that after one has awakened, truly the Sixth Patriarch with both feet stretched out lies there all day long. It is not like this. Some of our people nowadays, every day when they have a little bit of realization, practice alone, always like this forever. Of course, for certain individuals, perhaps they truly cannot face society and can only be this way. But most importantly, we should still have aspiration. Even if there is one breath left, transmit the truth to others. In the process of transmission, there must also be a kind of our present era is a rather special era. Why do we say a special era? I think this way. We propagate and spread the Dharma through two channels. One is through individual action, one is through group action. There are two ways. If through individual action, of course, one may need to have supernatural powers, miraculous transformations. If there is something extraordinary, many people may accept it. Otherwise, the scope of what you transmit may not be very broad. If we use the method of a group, then the group must have formal training. If there is no training, because in our present society, whether East or West, it is all a kind of organized group culture. In this kind of culture, people are especially skillful. They are very wise. Sometimes I think, seeing the organizational management of many Eastern and Western enterprises training, enterprises diligence and philosophy, including their brand culture, we feel Buddhists are still quite backward. Originally, Buddhism itself has, including in the Vinaya Sutra and many scriptures, it should completely be able to surpass these present enterprise cultures. Yet we Buddhists have not utilized it. Why do many Buddhists learn from enterprise culture, from other management, first study themselves and then promote? The reason is because in the past we have not utilized much of Buddhism's spirit. This also has certain reasons. Therefore, we now need skillful means, probably need to make our own efforts. If we do not make efforts, merely saying with our mouths, I want to liberate sentient beings. Liberate sentient beings, even if you recite it 100 times, it may not be possible to liberate all sentient beings. We must think, what kind of people are the sentient beings to be liberated? Through what kind of culture or group should we liberate them? What are the methods of liberation? What are the results? How many years are needed? We use the truth of the Dharma to educate them. They will also, in the end, truly realize this wisdom of the Buddha. Regarding wisdom, we need not worry. As long as we can promote it, then there is fundamentally no worry. For example, we have a very good product. In terms of quality, there is definitely no problem. But how do we promote it? In terms of methods, we Buddhists are rather selfish. Compared with other religions, compared with other organizations, many of our practitioners are rather selfish and moreover rather confused, to be honest. Now, many people lack altruistic mind. Altruistic mind has just begun. Some are in the process of awakening. Some people are still in slumber, in deep sleep. Therefore, everyone should also see truly what liberation is. After the Sixth Patriarch finally awakened, here it is also explained. The Buddha Dharma is in the world, enlightenment is not apart from the world. To seek Bodhi apart from the world is like seeking rabbit horns. The Buddha Dharma in this world is not apart from worldly awakening. If apart from worldly awakening, seeking Bodhi is equivalent to seeking a rabbit's horn. It can never be found. Led by Master Taishu, there are many proponents of humanistic Buddhism. They began to propagate with this. Of course, I think from the relative perspective, Buddhism and worldly dharmas are inseparable. Buddhism is not only in temples, not only in mountain valleys. Buddhism should be in every family, in social communities, including our present elderly care, insurance, stock market. In all markets, the spirit of Buddhism is everywhere. Monks can also interact with worldly people and so forth. This statement has many meanings. We bring down the state of Buddhism to propagate humanistic Buddhism, worldly Buddhism. This is also acceptable. But this statement truly we see in many places, including in various magazines now. Many people like to use this. But sometimes when I see its true intention, its true meaning may not be what people now all think it is. Because this is the formless verse. The meaning of the Sixth Patriarch explained in the formless verse is not saying that all of the Buddha Dharma we worldly people can all practice. It may not be this meaning. What is his main meaning? The so-called Buddha Dharma is actually the Dharma of transmission and the Dharma of realization. Among the Dharma of transmission and the Dharma of realization, the true Buddha Dharma is the Dharma of realization. Our inner realization of faith, compassion, and the most fundamental state of emptiness and luminosity, such true realization of the Buddha Dharma is actually in the world, including our present attachment, anger, discriminating thoughts, and so forth. Actually, these are called worldly awakening, worldly awareness, worldly wondrous function. It is also taught in Chan Buddhism, also taught in the Great Perfection. Our present attachment, anger, and delusion are a kind of playful dance of awareness, the adornment of awareness, a kind of wondrous function of awareness. That is to say, actually the realization of the Buddha Dharma in our worldly walking, standing, sitting, lying down, and also in our arising thoughts, in all conduct, in all consciousnesses, has never departed. If departing from our present immediate discriminating thoughts, seeking outside for a so-called Buddha Bodhi, it is like seeking turtle fur or rabbit horns. It can never be obtained. The meaning of the Sixth Patriarch is that our present mind, on the surface, our mind state is a kind of worldly discriminating thought, worldly attachment, anger, or worldly things. But actually it is the true awakening. What is taught in Chan Buddhism as seeing one's true nature? Seeing one's true nature is in every person's immediate discriminating thoughts. At this very moment, if you recognize it, in delusion you are a sentient being, in awakening you are Buddha. At this time, what is truly taught in Chan Buddhism is that actually the Buddha Dharma is not apart from worldly dharmas. The true realization of the Buddha Dharma is in our worldly existence. The deluded, discriminating thoughts of every sentient being have never departed. Did we not just explain it as like a prince wandering outside? On the surface, he appears to be a wanderer, but actually, he is the prince. Now our worldly discriminating thoughts, on the surface, it appears that what arises in my mind today, attachment, anger, afflictive discriminations, are very frightening. But actually, if one truly recognizes their nature, this is the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, or the 5 wisdoms, are not separate. Therefore, the Buddha Dharma is in the world, not apart from worldly awakening, should be explained this way. We often say afflictions are Bodhi, birth and death are Nirvana. In related Buddhist scriptures, it is also taught this way. When understood this way, one knows, oh, so the Buddha Dharma of Chan Buddhism is not apart from the world. It actually means that the true realization of the Buddha Dharma can be attained by anyone in the world, regardless of what status they have. Whether you are a king, a minister, or a beggar, whether a lay person or a monastic, as long as you constantly look inward at the original face of your own mind, actually it is the indivisibility of appearance and emptiness. The indivisibility of appearance and emptiness, this inconceivable state, every person, when you look inward for an instant, can recognize its nature. This is a kind of realization. Actually, the so-called realization is not that each person obtains a different wish-fulfilling jewel. Each person originally has the nature of their own mind. Whoever has the pith instructions to recognize it obtains it. It is like treasures are beneath each and every home. Whoever has the ability to explore can discover them. Only this. It should be understood this way. Right view is called transcending the world. Wrong view is called worldly. Cast away both wrong and right, and the Bodhi nature is manifest. This statement is also very important. We usually speak of right view and wrong view. Right view, for example, right view of cause and effect, right view of Bodhi, or good has good results, evil has evil results. These are called right view. Not acknowledging good and evil, cause and effect, rebirth, these are called wrong view. But here the boundary between right view and wrong view is not like this. Here it is said, the so-called right view is transcendent Dharma. Wisdom free from the four extremes and 8 elaborations is called right view. The so-called view of emptiness is called right view. What is called wrong view? All worldly views, worldly dharmas. In the world, whatever has characteristics, including the unwholesome, the 10 unwholesome actions, not acknowledging cause and effect of good and evil, and also the wholesome aspects, your faith, compassion, bodhicitta, all can be said to be wrong view. Why? In the most ultimate view that analyzes ultimate truth, all these are utterly unattainable. Everything is absent. Whether substantial or insubstantial phenomena, all do not abide before the mind. Finally, whether substantial phenomena or insubstantial phenomena, everything in that state is absent. Good, not good, existent, non-existent, wholesome, unwholesome, as analyzed in the root stanzas of the middle way. Therefore, right view is called the transcendent view of ultimate truth. Wrong view is the worldly view of conventional truth. These two, ultimate and conventional, are like rubbing fire sticks, the upper and lower friction sticks. Through friction of these two, finally both also do not remain established. Now I have forgotten the reasoning of many scriptures and treatises. What should I do? The beacon of certainty, the ornament of the middle way. Many use this analogy. This analogy is very good. At the beginning, through rubbing these two together, finally the upper and lower friction sticks have themselves burned up and are gone. Similarly, first through, as explained in the middle way, conventional truth to enter ultimate truth. Finally, ultimate truth and conventional truth, the view of emptiness and the view of appearance, these views of appearance and emptiness, right and wrong, are all completely absent. At that time, the nature of Bodhi naturally appears clearly. It can completely appear. Indeed, if the Platform Sutra is taught more profoundly, of course there are many profound views of Madhyamaka and Tantric teachings. If it is taught more simply, it is also acceptable. How did the Sixth Patriarch stretch out his feet? One cannot speak of others' faults. Speaking of others' faults is not good. The Buddha Dharma is not apart from worldly dharmas, so many of you do not need to become monastics. You should not think that the Buddha Dharma is escapist. It should be such and such. This way is also acceptable. The Buddha Dharma, people of different faculties, all gain different harvests. Many people like to hear it this way, right? If it is taught somewhat profoundly, probably in the fog and clouds, not knowing what is actually being said. If both right and wrong are completely shattered, if both right and wrong are gone, then what is there? Then what should I do? This verse is the sudden teaching, also called the great Dharmaship. The deluded may hear the sutra for countless kalpas. The enlightened awaken in an instant. The verses explained above are teachings of the sudden enlightenment method. Flowing from the wisdom of the Sixth Patriarch, it is a great Dharma. Only people of great faculties, Mahayana faculties, who have some realization of emptiness and Chan teachings, such people can attain it. Moreover, it is like a great ship that can cross the great ocean of samsaric birth and death. Relying on the above pith instructions, it can enable countless people to reach the other shore of Prajnaparamita. If some confused people hear it and become more and more confused, not understanding if good and evil, wrong and right are all completely destroyed, not knowing what I should actually do, should I not recite the Vajrasattva mantra? Because it is also wholesome, should I then? Some lack sufficient wisdom, lack sufficient faith. Such people, perhaps after hearing, for many lifetimes will sink in samsara. This can also happen, but if one has merit, has Buddhist affinity, and is relatively sharp in faculties, with faith and wisdom, all quite excellent foundations, such a person in an instant can, when hearing this, because of past life conditions, when obtaining prajna and chan teachings in this life, be extremely joyful, hair standing on end, tears streaming down, toward the emptiness teachings and the Vajra words of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas naturally generate tremendous faith and thereby attain awakening. The master spoke again. Now at Dufan Monastery I preach this sudden teaching. I universally vow that all sentient beings throughout the Dharmadhatu will at these words see the nature and accomplish Buddhahood. Because previously at Dufan Temple he explained the content of the first and second chapters, at Dufan Temple he taught such sudden enlightenment teachings. He dedicated merit, universally wishing that all sentient beings in all Dharma realms under heaven, relying on this lineage, in a word through this lineage, may they see their nature and become Buddhas. Chan Buddhism also emphasizes dedication of the most profound teachings. We explained before that arousing bodhicitta is already present. In the middle, the main practice without reference point was also explained. At the very end, there is also universal dedication. At that time, Prefect Wei, along with government officials and ordained and lay followers, hearing what the master preached, all experienced enlightenment without exception. Simultaneously, they bowed and sighed. How excellent! How unexpected that a Buddha has appeared in the world in Lingnan. At this time, Prefect Wei and others, including monastics and laity, various kinds of people, when hearing the above teachings spoken by the Sixth Patriarch, there were none who did not awaken. All had different degrees of awakening. I feel that among our Dharma friends here, each one's conditions are different. But judging from your expressions, all have some different awakening. At least toward the Chan teachings, with Tantric teachings and Prajna teachings, there are many similarities. I myself still have some awakening. It is just that the awakening is not that everything is completely gone, that kind of awakening. Without exception, they awakened and all paid homage. At this time, many began to prostrate to him. Some people say when the teacher finishes teaching or when leaving the teacher, do not prostrate, do not prostrate. When arriving, you can prostrate, but when departing, you cannot prostrate. Many say this. Actually, it is not necessarily so. Whether toward the Dharma, toward the teacher, or in the temple, you see in Buddhist scriptures it is often said that many disciples, when departing from the Buddha, prostrated and withdrew. There is also this, the Sixth Patriarch's disciples, at the very end, they also prostrated to him. Here it is also not necessarily so. Many people often say about Tibetan Buddhism, when returning, do not prostrate. Wow, you are finished. You will never see your teacher again in the future. How could prostrating mean you will not see your teacher? How could there be such a thing? That's severe. In Buddhist scriptures, when many disciples took leave, there were also many who prostrated to the Buddha. Moreover, these people all praised, saying, "Excellent, how unexpected that a Buddha appeared in Lingnan." At that time, they said, in our region, we did not expect that in the Lingnan region a Buddha would appear. Buddha here refers to the Sixth Patriarch. Therefore, here it is also explained that the Guru and Buddha are indivisible. Some say of Tibetan Buddhism, how can you regard the Guru as Buddha? Actually, it is not only Tibetan Buddhism. In Chan Buddhism, it is also said, look at our Lingnan region. We did not expect the Sixth Patriarch's spiritual friend. You truly have no difference from Buddha. Buddha Lord has come, Buddha has come. In our Lingnan region, there is also a Buddha-like Guru. Guru, you are the true Buddha. Sixth Patriarch, Sixth Patriarch. At that time, it was also taught this way. Therefore, the secret intention of the great Dharma is completely the same. But some people with faculties like small grass, whose faculties are not very mature, toward many teachings of the Buddha have doubts, have wrong views, have prejudices. Moreover, their ability to accept is comparatively poor. Some have insufficient cultural level. Some people have quite heavy past life karma. People with heavy karma, no matter what spiritual teacher teaches, those spiritual teachers, you see faults in them. Whichever teaching is supposed to be best, it seems that this teaching also does not accord with them. They constantly find many faults. If your past life merit and this life's various conditions are complete, all the spiritual teachers with whom you form virtuous connections, toward them you have incomparable faith and joy. Moreover, all the teachings you encounter truly bring you the effect of counteracting afflictions. Therefore, we discover in others, we also discover in ourselves, actually merit is still very important. All right, we will stop here for today.
Jupun Solen Dra Bandaran Gara Badma Asadar Om Bandhangara Padma Sada. Om Bandhangara Padma Sada.